For decades, investors have flocked to GLD and SLV, the SPDR Gold Shares and iShares Silver Trust, believing they offer a simple, safe way to own precious metals. You click a button, you buy a share, and you're diversified, right? You're protected from inflation, from market crashes, from geopolitical chaos. Well, if you think that holding GLD and SLV is safe, in the current global climate of 2026, it's time to think again. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the hidden risks of these popular ETFs, especially given the world's growing instability. Let's start with the fundamental flaw in the safety of GLD and SLV. These are exchange-traded funds, or ETFs. They are paper contracts. While they are intended to be backed by physical metal, their operation creates a crucial vulnerability during times of extreme stress. Think of it this way: when you buy a share of GLD or SLV, you don't actually own a specific gold bar. You own a share in a trust that purports to hold gold or silver on your behalf. The actual metal is stored in massive, centralized vaults, primarily in London LBMA and New York COMEX. The system relies on authorized participants, big banks, who can create new shares by depositing metal or redeem shares for metal. This system works beautifully in calm markets. But what happens when markets are anything but peaceful? Here's where current geopolitical realities in 2026 become critical. We're seeing escalating conflicts in Eastern Europe, continued tensions in the Middle East, South America, fractured supply chains, and policy musical chairs. This environment creates two massive problems for GLD and SLV. The physical squeeze. Imagine a scenario where a major conflict disrupts shipping lanes or closes down key financial centers like London. The authorized participants can't physically source gold or silver to create new shares, or they can't redeem existing shares for physical metal. Historical example: we saw a glimpse of this in 2021 during the Reddit-fueled silver squeeze. SLV's prospectus was quickly updated to reflect that it might not be able to source enough silver for new shares. This was a soft warning that the physical market was being strained. In late 2025, reports suggest significant delays, weeks, even months, for physical delivery at central bullion banks. The financial world is fragmenting. India, China and Russia have their own precious metal and commodity exchanges. They are buying up global supplies and trading real metal, not just paper. Silver, besides being a precious metal, also has important industrial usage. Demand has exceeded production of the metal. This means the paper price of GLD or SLV could decouple dramatically from the actual cost of physical metal. You might see gold quoted at $5,000, but your GLD share is trading at a steep discount because the underlying physical metal is effectively stuck. 2. The cash settlement kill switch. This is the most insidious clause. Both GLD and SLV have force majeure provisions in their prospectuses. If, due to war, systemic financial collapse, or an inability to access physical metal, the trust deems it impossible to continue its operations, it can invoke a mandatory liquidation. The impact: you wouldn't get your physical gold or silver. You'll receive the cash equivalent of your shares at the time of closure. Imagine a hyperinflationary environment during a war, where physical gold is skyrocketing, and you're suddenly paid out in a rapidly depreciating currency. You bought precious metals to protect your purchasing power, and in that moment, the ETF system could strip that protection away. Now, let's talk about the uncomfortable truth: government confiscation. Many dismiss this as a relic of the past, but in an era of unprecedented national debt, financial instability, and potential resource wars, the legal precedents remain. Executive Order 6102, 1933, the U.S. government, under President Roosevelt, effectively confiscated most privately held gold in the United States, forcing citizens to sell their gold to the Treasury at a fixed price. The legal framework used for this still exists and can be invoked under national emergency powers. The GLD/SLV vulnerability. Why is this a danger for GLD and SLV? Because the metal is held in massive, centralized, and easily identifiable vaults in London and New York. For GLD, gold is seen as a monetary asset. A government could seize it to stabilize the currency or repay national debt. For SLV, silver is not only a monetary asset but also a critical industrial and military resource. In a major war, if supply chains are disrupted, a government could declare silver a strategic national asset and commandeer it for industrial or military production. The silver in the custodian's vaults would be the easiest target. The mechanism: a U.S. presidential executive order could simply compel the U.S.-based custodians, like J.P. Morgan for SLV or HSBC for GLD, to transfer ownership of the metal to the government. You, the investor, would then receive a cash payout at a price dictated by the government, almost certainly far below market value. If GLD and SLV are so vulnerable, what are the alternatives? The answer lies in jurisdictional diversification, storing your metal in countries with different legal systems and less exposure to the US government's executive power. Option 1. Canadian-based ETFs/trusts, for example, Sprott Physical Silver Trust, PSLV/Phys Structure, Sprott Physical Silver Trust, PSLV, and Sprott Physical Gold Trust, PHYS, are closed-end trusts. When you buy a unit, Sprott buys physical metal and stores it in the Royal Canadian Mint in Ottawa. The protection: this is crucial for investors. There is no president in Canada. The US government has no legal authority to directly seize assets held by the Canadian Crown. To get that metal, the US would need to negotiate with the Canadian government, a far higher political and legal hurdle than a presidential executive order. For Canadians, holding PSLV, TSX, PSLV.U, directly in Canada means your metal is stored securely within your own country's jurisdiction, away from direct US reach. For Americans, while buying PSLV on the NYSE, PSLV, or TSX, PSLV.U, places the metal in Canada, as a US citizen, you still face a US government order to liquidate your shares. However, the physical metal itself remains in Canada, making its direct confiscation by the US far more difficult. Think legal fight. The catch for Americans: PFIC. A significant tax consideration for US persons holding PSLV is its classification as a passive foreign investment company, PFIC. You must file IRS Form 8621 annually and make a KEF election to avoid punitive tax rates, the highest possible income rate plus interest. If done correctly, your capital gains are taxed at 15 to 20%, which is lower than the 28% collectibles tax for GLD/SLV. Option 2. Swiss-based ETFs, for example, ZKB Gold ETF structure. Funds like that Zürcher Kantonalbank, ZKB, Gold ETF, ZGLD, are domiciled in Switzerland and physically backed by gold stored in Swiss vaults. The protection: Switzerland's long history of neutrality, strong property rights, and banking secrecy laws make it a favored jurisdiction. The Swiss government has historically resisted foreign asset claims. Physical delivery: many Swiss funds, like ZKB, offer the legal right to physical delivery of standard gold bars in Switzerland, providing an ultimate exit ramp if the paper system completely breaks down. The ultimate level of protection from force majeure is, of course, physical possession. If you hold it in your hand, no government can confiscate it without coming to your door. But for larger amounts, storing it in a professional, private vault in a neutral country is the next best thing. Buying physical metal: the pros: you control the asset. No counterparty risk, no custodian risk, no cash settlement clauses. The cons: storage, security, insurance, verification when you sell, is it real? And liquidity: finding a buyer who gives you full spot price, especially for large amounts. The spread: when selling physical, you always deal with a bid-ask spread. Dealers buy at a few percent below spot and sell above spot. This eats into your profits. Tax reporting: for large sales, you'll still be subject to tax reporting requirements. For example, IRS Form 1099-B in the US for sales over $10,000. Buying metal overseas: for example, Bullion Star or Silver Bullion SG in Singapore. The Singapore advantage: Singapore has purposefully built itself into a global bullion hub. Oh no capital gains tax: this is a huge benefit. If you buy silver at $1,000 and sell it at $3,000, your entire $2,000 profit is yours, tax-free. This significantly enhances your real return compared to Canada or the US. Strong property rights: Singapore has robust legal protections for private property, making it difficult for foreign governments to seize assets stored there. Political neutrality: Singapore maintains an independent foreign policy, providing a safe haven for assets in an unstable world. Segregated storage: Silver Bullion SG. Providers like Silver Bullion SG offer STAR parcels where your specific bars are legally segregated and titled to you, not pooled with other customers, enhancing legal protection. For Canadians and Americans, this offers the ultimate jurisdictional diversification. The metal is held in a truly neutral, pro-private property jurisdiction. The US reporting caveat: for Americans, offshore accounts, even for physical metal, can trigger FBAR, Foreign Bank and Financial Accounts Report, and FATCA, Foreign Account Tax Compliance Act, reporting if the aggregate value exceeds certain thresholds, $10,000 for FBAR, $50,000 to $300,000 for FATCA, depending on filing status. Failure to file these can lead to draconian penalties. Let's tie this all together for our Canadian and American listeners. For the Canadian investor, GLD and SLV are US-based and are highly susceptible to US government confiscation or cash settlement. This is your highest risk option for safe haven metal. PSLV and FIZ, Canadian-based, excellent choice. The metal is within Canada, managed by a Canadian company, and stored in the Royal Canadian Mint in Ottawa. This provides strong protection from US actions. Your capital gains on precious metals are taxed as regular capital gains in Canada, at 50% inclusion rate. Swiss and German ETFs, good diversification, but adds a layer of foreign exchange risk and potentially more complex tax reporting if you need to trace gains. Physical metal, at home, best for ultimate control and privacy, up to a point. Physical metal, in Singapore, excellent for tax-free gains and ultimate geopolitical safety, though you'll need to consider reporting requirements if you have significant offshore assets. For the American investor, GLD and SLV are US-based, they are most vulnerable to US government confiscation, especially for silver's industrial use, or forced cash settlement. The 28% collectibles tax rate on long-term gains is also punitive. PSLV and FIZ are Canadian-based. They are superior options for jurisdictional diversification. However, you must actively manage the PFIC tax reporting, Form 8621 with KEF election, to avoid massive tax penalties. If you do this correctly, your capital gains are taxed at the lower 15 to 20% long-term rate. Swiss and German ETFs, they have similar PFIC reporting requirements to PSLV, possibly more complex to manage if there's no clear US reporting guidance. Physical metal, at home, or a safety deposit box, still the safest from government seizure, but remember the 28% collectibles tax on gains if you report them. Physical metal in Singapore, the most robust geopolitical solution, but comes with the most stringent US reporting requirements, FBAR/FATCA, due to holding assets overseas. Crucially, the absence of capital gains tax in Singapore is a huge benefit for the American investor's net return, even after US tax on gains. Enjoy an Eastern holiday after you cash out. In conclusion, the idea that GLD and SLV offer unassailable safety is, in 2025, a dangerous misconception. The world has changed. The threat of geopolitical disruption, market freezes, and even government confiscation is real. The era of passive investment in GLD and SLV without understanding the underlying risks is over. Your financial future, in these uncertain times, depends on your diligence. Thank you for joining us today. If you have questions about specific ETFs or offshore storage options, please reach out. Stay safe, and protect your wealth.